Welcome to It's Your Time to Shine, our premiere broadcast of my new podcast, It's Your Time to Shine. I am your host, Christoff J Weihman, America's favorite five-star customer experience expert and the creator and producer of the Ultimate Speaker Competition, where we empower speakers to share their greatness. I am super excited to welcome to the studio my good friend, Mr. Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. Welcome, Barry. How are you today?
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Now, Christoff, how can I make the categorical statement that all the thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people around the world that are going to be tuning into This Is Your Time to Shine are all good-looking? Because by definition, if they tune in to listen to you, they're always looking for and finding the good. That's a good-looking person, looking for and finding the good. I am doing so well, Christoff, that if you put it in a bottle and sniff it, you'd be happy for a year. How's that?
I think that's fantastic. I always talk about setting the tone. Set the tone from the very beginning, and that is what you absolutely do. For our listeners and viewers, I'd like to just take a moment and tell you a little bit about Barry Shore. Barry Shore is a mental health activist, a change maker, and a life transformer whose profound message of joy, he'll do it much longer than that later, is being embraced globally. And Barry Shore is also he's a number one best-selling author, international speaker, and his latest book is called The Joy of Living, which happens to be also the same name of his podcast, The Joy of Living. So, Barry, tell us a little bit about how you, like the Barry Shore that we know today, that if you are blessed to know Barry, have you always been like this? Have you always been here? Before you answer that question, folks, Barry was recently at our Ultimate Speaker Competition. He graced our stage, and he happens to be our grand champion of our recent event. Congratulations. But while he was speaking, I took notes, and many things that you shared, but one that struck me is you stated, we have an obligation to live life exuberantly. Let's start there and then go back. So go ahead, Barry.
We have an obligation to live life exuberantly, because if you're alive, that means that the reality of life is you're not dead.
You're not
You know
dead.
something wonderful, Christoff? 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening to this at any point in the next 100 years, it means that you're alive. If you're alive, you have an obligation to live exuberantly, because otherwise, why are you here? By the way, when I address audiences, sometimes as small as 100 people, sometimes as large as just recently 5,623 people in the audience. And when I'm talking to them, I'm telling them the story about Barry Shore, I emphasize the three fundamentals of life, because that's what we work with. Three fundamentals are, number one, life has purpose. If you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. Now, in this case, a good number two. Number two is you go mad. You lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad. MAD is an acronym that stands for make a difference. And the third fundamental of life is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Such a simple example. Right now, this remarkable podcast of yours, It's Your Time to Shine, is being carried over the internet.
Yes.
Now, if you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, it has to do with the internet. Factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for, drum roll, fanfare, da-dun, da-da. What a wonderful world.
What a wonderful world, www.
And what is a word, right? W-H-A-T, what a wonderful world. And of
What
course, a tip of the hat and a big thank you to Louis Armstrong Satchmo for enabling that song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral and touch not just tens of millions, 100 millions, Billions of people around the planet know that song. Whenever you hear the opening bars of that song, what a wonderful world. What do you do right away? You can't help it. You smile, right? Now,
Yep.
smile is one of the greatest words you could ever integrate, utilize, and leverage in your life, because SMILE is an acronym that stands for Seeing Miracles in Life Every Day. Seeing
Seeing
miracles in
miracles
life
in
every
life
day.
every day. That's what a smile is.
That's what a smile is. Now, when I tell the story about Barry Shore, invariably people raise their hands and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been out for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water, drink, food to eat, a place to sleep, family, friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And again, the simple proof is 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You did. So
And
what's the story of Barry
if you
Shore?
are listening to us, watching, you got out of bed this morning,
At least you opened
maybe,
your eyes.
or at least you woke up.
Right.
Maybe you
You
are
woke
in
up.
bed.
Okay, so
So
let's talk about that, because Barry Shore only woke up recently. Didn't get out of bed for many years. Why? What's the story? Imagine the following: standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that evening be in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed. Not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury. A rare disease took over my body and rendered me a quadriplegic. Means
wow.
nothing in my body moved from my neck down. All I could do was blink my eyes.
Oh my God.
144 days in the hospital. I was 2 years in a hospital bed in my own home. I couldn't turn over by myself. I was 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Uh, Today, I walk with a 7-foot walking one. So I'm a triped, not a biped. I can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice: positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. All because of this one word: smile.
Smile.
Seeing miracles in life every day. But I got to tell you a quick story, Christoff.
Yes.
My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago. She says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile SMIEL? I thought about it. Smile? It sounds the same. Why not? I asked her, how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. An 8-year-old out of the
Either
mouth of
way,
babes. But
it
what was she
comes out.
doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a wonderful acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Rethinking, that is the key to life. When you recognize the 6 most powerful words that you can internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, then everything depends on you. These 6 words, of course, are choice, not chance, determines your destiny.
Choice,
Choice, not
not
chance,
chance,
determines your destiny.
determines your
How
destiny.
you choose to respond in any given situation will help determine what happens to you after the particular situation that you're in. Right, Christoff?
100%. But that's not the norm for most people, Barry. And is
We're
this?
not normal people,
No,
Christoff.
we're
You
not.
know that.
We
And
choose to
certainly
not
not the
be.
people that listen to you. They're not normal. You don't want normal.
Right.
You want people who are out there living fully, exuberantly, spreading joy, happiness, peace, and
Joy and
love.
love. Uh, if you spend any time around Barry Shore, you quickly get into this rhythm of knowing that he's going to lead us into a word in song. We have a picture of, I don't know, 30 or so of us on stage at the Ultimate Speaker Competition. And it's hard to smile when you have your mouth open saying joy, but everybody has their mouth, their lips pursed, whatever the word is, with everybody with their arms outstretched. And we're all saying, not just saying, but we're reverberating joy. And this happens so
Joy.
many times during the event, but it does. It's so. Let's talk about what that does. Let's talk about energy and vibration, because each emotion has a vibration, and the lower emotions have lower vibrations, like anger and jealousy and hate, and joy and love and gratitude are the higher levels. Talk about what you do, what that does to a person. I mean, it's not just hearing words, right? Talk about what the effect that actually has.
So Let's begin by understanding. Remember, we talked about three fundamentals: life has purpose, go mad, go make a difference, and unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. You just used that wonderful word, love. Love is an amazing acronym. It stands for living on vibrant energy.
Living on
Christoff.
vibrant energy.
Living on the vibrational plane, like you just mentioned. There are lower vibrations and higher vibrations, just like there's a lower self and a higher self. Living on vibrant energy means that you are involved in the world. When you're involved in the world, you realize that you are a cog. Now, a cog is a very interesting word, C-O-G, because when people think of a cog, you think of something like a large machine and a small piece in the machine, a little cog, just another piece, right?
Right.
Well, the essence of understanding that you are essential to the machine called life, the planet, humanity, means that you are a channel of goodness, a child of God. That's what a cog is, a child of God, a channel of goodness. When you recognize that you become essential to the functioning of the world, then your role takes on greater magnitude. Because it does not matter if you are serving coffee in a Starbucks, or you're helping out in a nursing home, or you're at your table with your family and you say, please pass the salt, my beautiful, wonderful wife, child, friend, whatever. As long as you're involved with other people and yourself in the sense of understanding that you are a channel of goodness, then your role in the world becomes magnified many times over, and you now are living on the vibrational energy, and therefore you are exuding love. And what happens as a result of that, you live life to the full. Now, life stands for living inspirationally for eternity. If you recall, I began the program when you introduced me saying, good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings and good-looking people. Recognizing that you are immortal is an important aspect of recognizing that you are a cog and you want to live in a fog. Now, what's a fog? Fog stands for Fountain of Gratitude.
You flip it all. Not even just the good words, but most people don't say, "Hey, I'm looking.
I want to live in the fog.
I want to live in the fog. I want to find the fog today." So this is very interesting, very unique. The acronyms. I'm a huge fan of acronyms. I learned so much from you. I've taken notes while we're sitting here. I was in a book last year. I was in a book a few different times, but this book happened to be, I don't know how to do it, a book of acronyms, Impact. But I don't find that what I've done in the past is I've helped companies and organizations take their lost my train of thought, their mission statement, which is usually just a bunch of sentences that if you ask somebody in the company, what's the mission statement? Well, I think it has to do with trust and this and that. And I teach them, if you take a word that is impactful and then create the mission statement out of that acronym, people are going to remember it. People are going to embody it and maybe even memorize it. And then it makes more sense rather than it just being a handful of sentences. But where did you come to be involved with acronyms? I mean, this is something very unique. It's something that you do all the time. Has it always been like that? Who inspired you? How did you get here?
Words are the currency that enables us to communicate together. Words by themselves, by the way, that's a great word, words, W-O-R-D-S, correct?
Mm-hmm.
If you write it down, you look at it, it's very fascinating because if you move the S at the end of words to the beginning of the word words, you now have a sword. Now, a sword is a very interesting item because when people think of a sword, they usually think of a skilled fighter, a warrior. So they're using the sword either as an offensive tool or a defensive tool.
Yes.
But a small sword can be also a scalpel, can be used to heal. So it all
Wow.
depends what you do with words. Words can be healing. They can be hurting. They are very powerful. So I learned from a very young age dealing with, thank God my parents are both wordsmiths and people that I associated with, that words are the ultimate currency if you want to be able to communicate that which you feel most deeply, which is love,
Hmm.
life, hope, joy. Joy, by the way, is a great acronym that stands for Journey of You.
Journey of you, joy.
Journey of You. That's what real joy is. Real joy and happiness is what a dear friend of mine taught me when I was, 14 years old. So it's almost 60 years ago, is what he calls ever striving forward. The ultimate happiness, the ultimate joy in life is going closer and closer in attainment of the goal that you wish to have.
Hmm.
When you articulate it, as you mentioned, you see, most people, by the way, and I've done this with large audiences and small, if you ask, let's use the number 100, just let's even use the number 10, it's even simpler. If you ask 10 people in a room, in an organization, do each one of you have a goal? Invariably, people will say yes. Okay. And then I ask, how many people here have written down their goal? Okay. Now, the more honest people will demur. And so now you have 6 people out of 10 who actually have admitted that they've written down the goal. Great. Out of those 6 people, how many people have it at their fingertips? Not just can say it, but how many
Right.
people can produce it? Well, you got maybe 2. Let's go for 2.
I was going to say a half of one.
Okay, we have 2. So now we're at 2 out of 10. And again, we're talking about people who are
Sure.
oriented towards goals. Here's where it gets really interesting and profound for me. And I was taught this at the age of 23 by a very dear friend of mine who was extremely successful in what everybody calls the business world. A
Yes.
multimillionaire at the age of 28. He had an office that had, I think at the time, 76 people working for him. And he was not even 30. It was wonderful to be around him. And he asked me the question. He says, Barry Shore, because we went through this exercise with me. I wrote down my goals. I articulated. I wrote it down. I used to carry it with me on a. We used to have something called an index card. I don't know if anybody knows what it is. Thank you.
I'm sure for those watching on or
Yeah.
listening on audio, we
I,
are also showing the index card, something
right.
that's been
I
used
happen
in the
to
past.
I happen to like white ones, but
Yes.
you see here. And this is also one of the things we call the Joy of Living community. We have the book called The Joy of Living. We have my podcast called The Joy of Living. And we have the Joy of Living community, which everybody should be joining around the world. Okay. But the point is that on the index card, I had written down my goal. And then at some point, about a year or so, we were working together and such. He asked me, he says, okay, Barry Shore, answer this question. Do you have the goal or does the goal have you?
Do you have the goal
Woo!
or does the goal have you?
In other words, you, Christoff, one of the things I was fascinated by when you started discussing who you are, who you were, where you are, what you're doing in life, and your background in the Philippines and such like that, that was because the goal had you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't dedicate your life in ministry to helping other people because you had a goal. I want to help people. Okay,
Right.
that's very nice. And that wasn't it. You were able to articulate exactly what you were doing. But at some point, the goal had you. It was,
Yes.
you were literally in the arms of the goal. That's wonderful. People who build large situations, whether they're organizations for business, philanthropy, in any particular situation, the goal has them. You can't escape the goal. That's
Yeah.
what they call the hero's journey, right?
Yes.
Remember the
Yes.
hero's journey? You are obligated to continue the journey. The most famous example, of course, Lord of the Rings. You're obligated to do something with the ring. The genius of life is when you recognize it, everybody has a ring. Everybody has a ring.
And what
You
does
do with the
ring stand for?
Oh, very nice. So ring stands for
You know, I'm programmed now.
Right.
And friends,
Remarkable insights.
audience that is listening, watching, I recommend highly, if you don't have in front of you right now, please quickly, if you're listening to the podcast, pause it, go grab a notebook and a pen and your favorite beverage, because it's gems, it's jewels, it's knowledge. This is not just a conversation. You just from listening and receiving and applying, it can change your mindset, your outlook, your demeanor, all these different things. I didn't mean to interrupt, Barry, but I feel like it's
let's go back to
so
something we
important.
talked about before, because we're talking about, we've used the word, I like using 4-letter words, by the way. I warn everybody in advance. Barry Shore uses 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word. And I do it because of the shock value, and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that I use, because I live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are life, love, hope, grow, free, gift, play, pray, swim. Those are 4-letter words. And the 4-letter FU word is fun.
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 Well,
FU, capital N, capital N. Now, people are raising and saying, hey, Barry Shore, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Now, in our world, the world of positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, fun is spelled FU, capital N, capital N. So after this podcast, you see your family and friends, I want you to point your finger and have a twinkle in your eye, a smile on your face. Remember, SMILE stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Point your finger, say, FU, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. Say, where'd you get that? He said, well, Christoff had on this nutty guy named Barry, so he wants to teach the world to FU, capital N, capital N. So the ability to get people's attention and to let you understand where we're going. Let's say hope. Hope is a great 4-letter word, stands for helping others progress every day.
Helping others progress every day. That's beautiful.
Helping others progress every day. Because why? Winners help others. That's who. Winners help others. I help others win. That's how. Winners help wisely. That's why. Winners inspire never-ending endurance, never-ending enthusiasm. That's wine. That's the kind of wine I like to drink. When you drink that kind of wine, now you're in the world of working with not just words, but you're becoming a spiritual chiropractor. Wonderful, Christoff. Now, everybody knows what a chiropractor is, right?
Yes, yes.
Chiropractor, you go in, you're not feeling so well physically, and so you go in the chiropractor, and he or she just goes, now you're aligned, right? The body carries itself easily for a while until the stress comes and things happen again. What you want to do is the same thing in your spiritual life. You want to align your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. You want your thoughts to be in good. You want your words to be in good. You want your deeds to be in good. So when your thoughts, your words, and your deeds are aligned, now you're living in a flow. So I'm going to share with you a great word. You ready?
Well, I don't know if I'm ready yet, Barry, because you haven't shared any good words yet. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I'm ready.
Buckle up, everybody. You're going to love this one. You're going to be tickled, okay? We have a great word for tickle. By the way, almost all of these words and many, many more are in this amazing book,
The Joy of Living by Barry Shore. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it on
barryshore.com. And notice the subtitle is How to Slay Stress and Be Happy.
Yes.
And the subtitle is?
Can't read it. From
Paralyzed to Long Distance Swimmer.
Wow.
So we'll talk about swimming in a little bit. But we were just talking while I interrupted our intrepid hero. I interrupted myself. We were talking about utilizing these words for the positive, the powerful, and making sure that when you align yourself, that you're bringing into the world that which is most beneficial for yourself and for everybody else. So let's take a look at an interesting word. The word is stress.
Stress, S-T-R-E-S-S.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the word that I really wanted to talk to you about, which is F-L-O-W-E-R. But we'll just write that down, F-L-O-W-E-R, and we'll discuss it further. But I want to discuss stress right now because it's the most searched word on the internet, Christoff, outside of COVID and things like that, because stress is always here.
Yeah.
Stress will always be here. Stress is part of the human condition, right? And stress always emanates from three basic factors: money, relationships, and health.
Health.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah.
You knew it right away, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Money, either too much or too little. Relationships,
Too much or
family,
too little.
friends. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
And health.
Mhm.
Things happen very quickly. Look at what just happened the past couple of years. So these are the three sources, if you will, about stress. And though stress in and of itself is just something. Now, most of the time, stress is negative because people let it build up and internalize it. But you can also learn how to reduce it, eliminate it, maybe, and even use it to advantage. That's what I work with. That's what I teach. That's what the Joy of Living community is all about. That's what the book is all about. That's what the podcast is all about. That's what the joy of living life is all about. So let's take a look at the word stress. Stress is an acronym that stands for stomach turning reality, enabling self-sabotage. Ah! Do you know what happened?
Wow.
Lost a job. Might lose the house.
Wow.
Cousin committed suicide. The kids are going crazy. They're not in school. The country's falling apart. People
Can we
internalize.
repeat it? Let's repeat it. Let's repeat it. Because sometimes
Stomach turning reality, enabling self-sabotage.
wow.
That's
Oh
what
my
stress.
gosh.
By the way, WOW is a great acronym. It stands for Words of Wonder, Words of Wisdom.
Words of wonder, words of wisdom.
Wow.
My first book was called Getting to Wow. Words of wisdom, words
Now
of
you
wonder.
know.
Stomach turning reality, enabling self-sabotage. Friends, we do not want that kind of stress.
Now let's take a look at the same word and give it the Barry Shore approach.
Let's do it. Let's Barry Shoreize it.
Stomach turning reality. You're right. You may have lost your job. You may lose the house. Your cousin did commit suicide. The kids are going crazy. They're not back in school. And if they are, they've got masks and all kinds of stuff. The country's falling apart. Enabling self-success.
No way.
Stomach turning reality, enabling self-success. How? Remember we said the 6 most important words you can ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in life are choice, not chance. Determines your destiny. How you respond will help decide where you're going to be. What happens?
And guess what? What you did, you changed one word.
That's right.
From self-sabotage to self-success. The whole thing, it's still, so it's not negating, it's not saying there is no such thing.
On the contrary.
It's not denying, oh, you don't have stress, don't worry about it. There's no stress. It is. It's acknowledging, accepting, and then shift. Bam.
Shift. Now,
flip it around.
It's so important what you just did, Christoff. Christoff, what you just did is so important. Ready?
Yes.
Shift happens.
Yes, it does.
Now, but the key
Here we go.
Right. Shift happens. But the key is that most people, unfortunately, for some reason, they drop the F and shift and the other stuff happens. You got to keep your F and F in place and shift.
Yeah.
Or else the other stuff happens. Shift is the key. You want to shift your perspective. And when you do that, stomach turning reality enables self-success. So let's take a look at something really fun. Let's take a look at fun. F-U, capital N, capital N. F-U, Christoff.
Yes, yes. I think I'm going to receive it.
You walk outside, you look at the garden, and you see this big, beautiful blossom, all these yellow petals and a face facing the sun and a big stem. What do you call all those things growing in the garden?
My wife's favorite flower, the sunflower.
Very good. So let's take a look at that word. Interesting word. If I ask you to write down the word L-O-W, write down the word L-O-W.
Okay.
How do you pronounce that?
Low.
Okay, put an F in front of it.
Flow.
How do you pronounce that?
Flow.
So we've been trained to think that that's a flower, but really, you know what it is? It's a flower.
It's a flower.
Because there's life flowing through it and around it and emanating from it. Am I not correct? It's not just standing there. There's juice inside of it. There's energy inside of it. It emanates, it pulsates, it radiates.
It's flowing.
It's flowing. It's a flower.
A flower. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Isn't that wonderful? And that's what each one of us is. We are flowers. And if you ever want to know how, just ask somebody that has a stethoscope or something to just take your stethoscope and listen to your own body flowing inside. Woom, boom, 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 boom. I mean, I just love sometimes going in and getting, that, what do they call it, EKG or whatever, anything. Yeah. Can I take a listen? And you hear the blood flowing. We all know it intellectually, but it's great to experience it and to hear it, that you're flowing all the time. Because if you're not, guess what? Yeah. The other stuff happens.
You're not here.
You become fertilizer.
I would like to shift. We are broadcasting on a number of different channels, as well as this going out.
By the way, how long do we have? Half hour or 45 minutes?
We've got about maybe another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Another 10 minutes. But one of the communities that we are broadcasting into is our Ultimate Speaker community on Facebook, which is comprised of about 500 plus speakers. These are people who are speakers from all different levels, whether they're aspiring, just getting started, to those, maybe not as experienced as Barry Shore, but maybe they've been speaking for 5, 10, 15 years or more, and we attract those people. What I would like to shift and talk about is I'd like to talk about speaking, because I noticed many things when you are speaking, whether it was on stage or when you've been on a podcast or right now on my show. You embody. You do like I do. You cannot, I can't imagine when you were a quadriplegic, because even when you were, I knew that internally your body was moving, because right. When you speak, you portray and you exude. So I'd like you to just kind of comment and speak to our speakers about being impactful, being effective, and being, because it's not just the words, even though you could easily just say, well, here's and be very monotone and give all this amazing wisdom, but you incorporate all of that. So just a few minutes, kind of your thoughts on all of that.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. It is always humbling to be able to share with fellow beings who care about this, which we call speaking, communicating. SHARE, by the way, is a remarkably powerful acronym that stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy, because that's what sharing is all about, right? Spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. In my humble opinion, there are 3 major aspects to whenever you speak. And speaking means on a stage where you're communicating to a number of people. Mm-hmm. Speaking means when you're working with family or friends in a more intimate setting. And speaking also to the most important, vital, and most difficult person you'll ever speak with. You're right. Do it again, Christoff.
I'm pointing to myself, people, right, because I know that that's what Barry is talking about.
Right. So there's 3 things. Number one most important is gain attention. Hello. Gain attention. That is the first. There's something called this 12-step program. I'm sure most everybody's heard of it. Maybe even some of our speakers have been in it at some point for some reason.
Yeah.
Out of the 12 steps, by definition, by the way, I'm a friend of Bill. On the 12-step program, the first step brings you 50% of the way there. In other words, these are not incremental.
Sure.
There's a leap in the first step. So just as you go on stage, and again, whether it's speaking to 5,000 people, 500 people, 50 people, 5 people, or just 1, gain attention. If you go up there and you say, thank you for being I'm here today to talk to you about, even if you do it in a great voice, thank you so much.
You lost them.
Who are you and why should I pay attention? You have somewhere between 8 and 18 seconds to at least gain someone's antenna. I didn't say antennae. I didn't say both, just one.
Yeah.
So maybe should I even shift my attention? Remember, I don't care about you. I care about me. The most listened to radio station frequency in the entire world is WII-FM.
Yes.
What's in it for me? If you're going to be on a stage or a platform or in a setting that you want me to give you my most valuable possession, which is my time, what's in it for me? So if you're speaking, number one, gain attention. Number two rule. Don't be boring.
Somehow I think that number 2 rule has not been disseminated yet.
When people recognize, hey, we have 5 minutes to speak, sometimes 5 minutes is interminable.
Yes.
Oftentimes, 5 minutes is interminable. What you want, the goal, is that there's an opening, a closing that puts everything together, and there's a middle.
Yeah.
But all people hear all they remember is the opening. You got their attention, and they hear the closing, the last 5, 10, 20 words. That's great. Because what you really want is to make sure that they're saying, well, gee, can you just stay a little longer? No, that's it. So first rule, remember what the first one is. Gain attention. Number 2, don't be boring.
Let's do it like this. Don't be boring.
Right. Number three, critical. Have something to say. Or as one of my mentors used to say, speak out with clout. Speak out with clout. I loved it only because it just sounded so good. A little rhyme to it. What do you have to share? Spreading happiness, rejuvenating energy. Is it a message that will resonate with anybody? One of the things that I speak about when I do radio shows or podcasts and they ask me, Barry Shore, do you have some practical tips and tools? Yes, I have 3. We only have time for one. Okay, what's the one you want to talk about? I'm going to tell everybody, learn to love dog poop.
Dog poop. I'm thinking now that doesn't really mean dog poop in the
Did Barry Shore say dog poop? Yes. So we don't have time to explain it because you said we only have a couple of minutes left. But the point is, you have something of import to give over to people. Learn to love dog poop. What is he talking about? Huh? I want to hear. Yes, it is a great acronym. We don't have time for it right now. So those are the 3 issues. You want to make sure that you gain people's attention. The best way to do it is not to say, well, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Christoff, for introducing me. I'm glad to be here today.
Yes.
Number 2, don't be boring.
Don't be boring, people.
And number 3, have something to say. Have something of import to say. If you have to get people riled up, do it. No matter what. 20% of the people in your audience, let's take 10 people. 20% of them, 2 people, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they won't listen. They don't care. They don't like you.
Yeah.
2 people, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, they're going to love you. I don't know why, but they will. So the other 6 people, we got to somehow shift and gain their attention so that they come away with something of value. That's why you're here. If you're selling something, well, it's because you have value. If you're hustling something, that's not value. Maybe to you, but not to anybody else. The rule of life is to understand that the word business, B-U-S-I-N-E-S-S, the U comes before the I.
The U comes before the I.
When the U comes before the I, you can do a lot of business. If you try to do it the other way, okay, you might sell a lot of stuff. That's not business. Business is value. So those are the three factors for every speaker. I don't care if you earn $500,000 every time you speak, or if you earn 15 cents. Those three aspects apply to everybody.
When you go on stage, when you've been invited to speak, regardless of what, whatever the event is, do you come with a preconceived idea, or what is your outcome? How do you determine what your end goal is, or what you want to leave the audience with? Does it change? Does it modify based on who's there?
There's an overarching idea, and then there's the particular. So as you mentioned, it's not so much who's there, but what is the particular event. In other words, if I'm speaking at a, call it for want of a better term, a charitable event, where I'm there as the color commentary to raise money, and I've done this on a number of occasions, did very well, thank God, then that's a different kind of modality than if I'm there to import or impart information, or if I'm there to make sure that people come and join the Joy of Living community or get my programs and things like that. So it does matter what the process is, but the overarching idea is something that I was taught decades ago from a very remarkably substantive mentor of mine. And these are the words he said to me: before you go on any stage, express, not impress. There to express, not to impress. If I'm there to impress people because I'm so smart and I know this, you know my background, you know what I do. Oh, I'm Barry Shore. Yeah, I've won this, I've done that. No, I'm there to express something that is fundamental to my being that I believe can be of benefit to people who will listen. I'm there to express, not impress. And I have to tell myself every single time before I speak. Every time. Express, not impress. Matter of fact, when we did our Ultimate Speakers competition, I spoke 3 times, right? I was fortunate enough to everybody presented the first time. And I said to myself, express, not impress. Thankfully, the judges said you're good enough that you can go to the second round. Again, express, not impress, and I said over what I wanted to do. And then I was chosen along with another worthy competitor, wonderfully beautiful young woman, to be in final competition. And we each had 7 minutes to prepare something that we didn't know about before. Yes. And again, it was express, not impress. And I was found worthy to be the winner. We both were.
You did.
And I competed in a wondrous stage opportunity. And she did the same thing. But she didn't know this formula. I've been granted it, and I'm sharing it with people. Say to yourself, say it often, by the way, you're there to express.
Express, not impress.
Right.
And I teach about something that I say that you take the audience on an emotional journey, not in a way that's contrived, but if you're sharing something, we've all gone through some challenges. If we haven't, then we're not alive.
Are you serious? Right? Really? You too?
But we all have experiences and life stories that can become life lessons that can impact an audience. And on our stage, it was actually the first time I got to see you speak live and in person. And you made the audience laugh. You challenged them. You imparted knowledge and wisdom. I shouldn't say you, but through your speaking, your message, it is you. The audience was brought to tears. There was these moments within 6 and 7 minutes that people went through that whole journey And I don't know if it's not really a question. I'm just acknowledging, the fact that a lot of times there are speakers who they're focused on what they're going to share. They're focused on the content, how much I have to put into this period of time. When sometimes I think the most effective people, such as yourself, yes, they have something to share, but you even said a moment ago, well, I can tell you about this, but we don't have enough time. But it's what you leave them with, right? How you make them feel. Because how we make people feel is going to last so much longer than, oh crap, I didn't remember. What was the acronym? I wrote it down. I didn't remember it. But even if I didn't remember the acronym, I remembered how you made me feel when I was listening to you. Does that make sense?
And dollars.
And dollars. Barry, I believe that this is the beginning. This is part 1. So I'm sure that I would love to invite you back. Let's end with your final words of wisdom.
So I'd like to do 2 things. Number 1, envelop everybody in a group hug and leave everybody with a blessing. So we'll tell everybody, HUG stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
And our blessing is, go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank everybody for tuning in. Barry Shore, thank you for you being who you are and the way that you shine in the world and share your gift. You are a true blessing, and I am honored to call you my friend and a mentor as well. God bless. Cheers, everybody. This has been It's Your Time to Shine, premiere episode, season 1 with Barry Shore. Go check out the Joy of Living podcast. Go to barryshore.com, join the Joy of Living community, and live a life of joy. God bless everybody. It's Christoff J Weihman. Talk to you soon.